Yeah, thanks so much again for coming tonight, everyone. Tonight we've got a talk on shell scripts and SYN floods and unfiltered Ask Me Anything. So we're going to be walking around the room with a microphone for the audience to ask questions as we go. But before we get into it, I just wanted to do an acknowledgement of country. We acknowledge the Gadigal and Gurungai people of the Eora Nation, upon whose ancestral lands we now stand. We would also like to pay respect to the elders, both past, present, and acknowledging them as the traditional custodians of knowledge of these places. Welcome to SecTalks. What is SecTalks? It's a non-profit and independent community that runs monthly technical security talks and hands-on security challenge. We're a no bullshit community-run, organised, independent community. What that means is essentially we don't like getting people up here to sell things to you. That's essentially what that boils down to. But to do that, we need to be quite strict in who we let sponsor our talks. So it does mean that it can be hard sometimes to organise it. You're part of a global community of infosec enthusiasts. We've got 75k members globally. We have 1,000 plus monthly meetups. We do it in 19 cities and countries. And it was established here in Australia 10 plus years ago. Let's get warmed up before we start anything. Last month we did this and it was quite positive. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're here to meet fellow security-minded people in the industry. We're just going to do a 60 seconds networking. Look around, find someone you haven't met, just say g'day. Share and ask your name and day job, favourite security tool or hack, and one thing you hope to learn tonight. And I'll just leave it to the room for a little bit. Let's see if I can get the video working. There we go. Hey everyone, thanks so much. We're going to move on to the next part. Hope everyone managed to meet someone new tonight. We'll likely do this every month from now on, so hopefully if you attend these every month, you'll eventually meet a lot of new people in the industry. All right, I might just talk over everyone, my apologies. SecTalks is volunteer teamwork. What does that mean? It means the organisers, the content providers, the sponsors, the participants, well, not really the sponsors, but everyone else is basically volunteering their time, and the sponsors are volunteering their money and or time to help make this possible. And the participant, you, and basically we can't have an event if no one shows up. So everyone basically participates in making this event worthwhile. And yeah, thank everyone tonight for showing up. One note before I continue for the talk tonight, the questions are also going to be from online. So we will be monitoring the chat for anyone watching online. Sydney hosts, who hosts our SecTalks Sydney? So these are our 4 organisers. We've got Pedram, Hossein, myself and Tenzin. Tonight we've got Pedram and myself. Pedram's running the talk. So if you have any questions during the talk, come up to me tonight. And yeah, if you want to help organising, email guru@sectalks.org. Always interested in people keen. Our supporters. So our sponsors for tonight, we've got our usual suspects of Google Google SecDim, Drone Shield, TikTok, and Atlassian. They've been solid sponsors for the duration of this year. And tonight we're hosting this event at the UTS. So we've got our UTS Cybersecurity Society who's really helped us out with this event. And we've got Steamgate as well, who has helped sponsor this event tonight. Yeah, give them a shout out on social media if you feel like it. Links. These are just useful links. Feel free to just take a picture of this slide. I'll move on and go through them. But this is just a place to find, like if you want to participate more in the community, these are the places to go. I'll just wait for everyone to take photos and then, yep, cool. I'll move on. If you're interested in a talk or workshop, but not necessarily interested in presenting it yourself, feel free to post something to our GitHub. It's not super used, but it is a place that could be used. If you want to see a talk on a specific topic, this is the place to put it. We'll look at the issues here and basically go out into the industry and see if we can find someone to do a talk on the issue, like if you want a certain specialized topic or tool or application, whatever it might be. This is a good place to put things for any ideas for presentations. After tonight, this is where we're going to head, the Agincourt Hotel, 871 George Street, Sydney. I'd recommend some people either memorize it or take a photo, but the follow the crowd strategy doesn't always work if you hang around too long. So yeah, but for the most part, if you follow people, you should be okay. But there's always one or two left over, so see if you can remember that by the end of the night. Community events. We got AppSec Days in Singapore. It's a new community event coming up. The training CTF is the 12th of September and the conference is going to be the 13th of September. So if you had plans to be in Singapore that time, maybe register. Should be a good event. Yeah, community-led Singapore event. We've got a lot of stuff, new stuff popping up in Singapore recently, so it's good to see. Here's a GitHub link, just a sort of compilation of Asia Pacific InfoSec conferences. If you're looking for more conferences, just looking to connect more to people in InfoSec, this is sort of your central place to go to get a list of everything. Looking for speaker CTF, as always, we're looking for speakers like tonight and in our future talks. If you want to either scan there or head over to Sessionize/SecTalks to submit a talk. If you have a talk idea, you wanted to talk on one of these events, let us know, or do a CTF. Yeah, always looking for more submissions. Thank you. And looking for sponsors. If you're a sponsor and you're potentially interested in either financially supporting us or you have a venue we could use, email us at sydney@sectalks.org. Always looking for people to help us out with that. And the Slack chat invitation. So this one I'd highly recommend, especially to people who aren't already in the Slack. But this is a great place to basically connect with people outside of physical meetups. And also, to be honest, it's at a very basic level, it's a great way to get just a list of job postings that don't necessarily need to go through a bunch of recruiter jargon first. So yeah, that's the most basic use case, but it's a great social platform and it connects each community. We have a new SecTalks branded t-shirt and hoodie. So if anyone wants to support us by buying shirts, there's another option recently spun up. And yeah, if anyone's interested, there's another link for you. And our code of conduct. So just too long didn't read. Yeah, for the next few hours, just please be a decent human. Just be considerate, respectful, and collaborative. Please refrain from demeaning, discriminatory, or harassing behaviour to other attendees, and be mindful of your surroundings. Please, if you do feel uncomfortable by anything tonight, just alert myself or any other organiser if you notice a dangerous situation or someone in distress. And yeah, ask questions, improve your knowledge, learn. That's what we're here for. If you want to know anything more about upcoming events, we're starting to move on to the HumanTix platform away from Meetup due to a few reasons. So just letting everyone know, yeah, follow us on HumanTix if you want to get like alerts for new event postings going into the future. Also, as a note for everyone here physically tonight, you may have noticed we're recently scanning QR codes for attendance. To be honest, the main reason for this is so we can plan food appropriately. You might have noticed we ran low on the pizza tonight. The more reliable we can get the attendance number, the more we can predictably order the food so that everyone has enough. Anyone who hasn't scanned that QR code will get an email, and you'll be sort of marked on a list of people we might not order food for, who might not reliably attend. So anyone who hasn't, if you can meet me at the back like shortly after this, that'd be great, so I can just get you checked in. So yeah, so I can order food for you next time you show up, basically. Follow us on social media. There's we mainly post on X and LinkedIn, so that's where we normally post our events the week before. And I'll pass it off to Pedram.
Thank you.
All good?
Thanks. Awesome. Thank you. And good evening for everyone who attended us in person. I guess this is our biggest turnout. And thanks to UTS CSEC for making it possible. We have doubled the size of the venue. And also for those of you who are seeing us online, thanks for joining. So I should a little bit talk about what this whole event is about, because it's a new format. With a bit of a story. So as someone who has passionately been in cybersecurity for 2 decades, from those early days of ethical hackings to build the startups and community, I have seen things has changed a lot. Something that was a passion for a few has turned into a big market for businesses also to make profit out of. Now, time and again these days, we hear about a new product or service or solution that they promise us that they solved aspect of our digital life, which on promise itself is a good thing, and we love to see those as well. However, at the same time, probably the short-sightedness of a few or aggressive pursuit of the profit of some vendors has also faced our very young industry in some new challenges. From individuals that either unexperienced or unqualified for key decision positions that they take in businesses or government, to vendors that with a huge marketing budget, they saturate the market with their shady solutions, and it is very difficult to find the right one. And not to mention to the people who still today believe cybersecurity is not a thing, or they don't care about it, and probably they just do minimum possible even after a major incident. This obviously has to change. And I'm planning to sit down with security veterans, people who have genuinely walked the path. They have seen the industry evolve from a passion to a market. And I want to sit down with them, ask questions, and listen to their advice. And we all learn from their experiences. And collectively, we navigate these challenges together. So our guest today is Norman Yue, probably familiar with most of you today. And this is our very first SecTalks Legend. So Norman, thanks for joining and being our first legend.
Yeah, no, good to be here. I'm certainly not a legend of anything, but okay. Thanks for coming. Yeah, how's it been? Sorry, can I swear? I can, right?
Just
I was going to say we're going to have problems if I can't. So, how long has it been? You've been doing SecTalks for quite a while now, and I remember back in the day. I think the first place was I want to say Atlassian.
Was right? a bar, assembly bar.
Oh,
There's
yeah,
a
that's
corner
right.
table we had with
that,
you and 3 other guys.
Is that still open?
It still is open.
Oh, yeah. It's certainly it's really interesting to see kind of how, even the people who come to SecTalks has really changed over the years. From literally a few dudes just in the bar talking shit about, I don't know, GCC, whatever, to this. Short sidetrack. Can I have a show of hands? Who's coming for the first time today? All right, yeah, awesome. Welcome to SecTalks. Yeah, and we hope you find this entertaining, I guess.
So I guess you already started. So just give us a heads down version of yourself and what do you do?
Right now I look after a team of people at a bank. Now, obviously, I'm here today, just not representing them. So, none of my opinions are my employers' opinions. What's the standard disclaimer people give?
That one, yeah.
Pretend I said that. During my day job now, what do I do? PowerPoint meetings, talking to people about kind of how we navigate the emerging challenges presented by AI. Which is a fair bit, because relatively it's a new technology, right? Compared to the stuff that you see out there on the internet, it's there's a lot of unsolved questions about this stuff. But in terms of background, so I've been I started off doing pen testing years and years ago.
How long?
How long? I actually don't know. 15, 20 years ago, I want to say.
Yeah.
Somewhere around there. Basically halfway through uni. And by that, when I say stuff like, don't listen, don't do what I do, right? Absolutely no. So I dropped out of uni. I remember when I rage quit, it was during, I won't talk about uni lectures, but you know, sometimes you're in a lecture and the lecture hall is like massive, right? And this is back in the day, we didn't have good audio, so you couldn't hear shit. And the dude was talking about, I don't know, man, some interrupt in some ancient microcontroller. And I was like, what the is this? And so I just didn't go. I was like, I'm done. Thanks. And so, yeah, and then I did pen testing back in the day for a bunch of consultancies. And then a while back, I landed at CBA, and I've been there ever since. It is a surprisingly interesting place to be from a cyber perspective. When I joined, I was like, oh, this is a bank. Like, I'm going to be like wearing a suit and, I don't know, banking. But like, it's not. It's actually quite, like, I like it. I'm still here, I guess. Yeah, that's me.
Well, I guess before pen testing, when was that time that you actually thought, hey, security is my thing? I want to do this.
When I... Good question. Back in the day, right, I think like the software and how we interface with computers was very different, right? It was very much more supportive of kind of people doing their own exploration, people like tinkering with their own computer, writing like software, diving into how the OS works, how like various software works. And I think I enjoyed tinkering, I guess. And then I figured out you could get paid money to do this, which is a solid change. And yeah, I've just been doing that ever since. I like computers, not so much now. Now that JavaScript is everywhere. So like I just enjoy, I don't know, just playing with like computers, electronics, like just random stuff, because it's fun, right? And then, you know, I'm of the opinion that every job, like from a career perspective, right? Every job has shit work. It is what it is. Like no matter what you do, you're not going to get a job whose like sole purpose is to make you happy. And so it's about finding that balance, like, and doing something that's kind of interesting, right? Keeps me engaged and has nice people around, which is what I'm after. So I've just kind of followed that. Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just started, I fell into it. I didn't fall off.
You kind of answered this. So kind of the curiosity and tinkering was something that sort of kept you going in security.
Yeah, for sure. And like even when doing pen testing stuff, right? I was never really happy with. I never went down the path of learning how to do a pen test properly. I still can't to this day. But like when I look at software, I'm not like, oh, here's like the OWASP top 10. I'm going to test them all one by one. It's more about looking at how does it work and how can I break it and what does that mean to people. I remember the first time that I found it was like a stored cross-site scripting in some app, which is probably still there today. I didn't actually know what it was called. I was just like, oh, did you know that you could put like JavaScript and HTML into this dude's app? And then someone was like, this is my first job. And they were like, yeah, that's called cross-site scripting. Here's how you write it up. But yeah, like, I don't know. It feels weird now. Like now everything's like tied into these structures, right? There's like fancy frameworks for like how we approach cybersecurity. And I think it's lost a bit of that room for exploration, or the bar for entry is higher, because it's not like before where you could just, you know, like you download like a decompiler and you have a look at basically whatever you wanted on your computer. Now there's laws against it. There's like people obfuscate their stuff. Like there's layers and layers of crap before you get to like interesting software logic or like hardware stuff, right? And it's like the amount of initial effort you have to put in to start exploring a system is massive now. So it is a bit, I don't know, it feels a bit weird for me. Sorry.
Interesting you brought it up, that penetration testing framework. I do recall that's one of the hardest things to put together, because there wasn't any, and any attempt you'd had, hey, let's just make sure everything goes out, is consistent regardless of who is doing the job.
Yeah.
But just, you know, every now and then someone writes something, but again, everyone had their own way of doing it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think if you compare it to what we've got now, like OWASP is still around. OWASP is probably the big one for doing web applications. And then like there's MITRE, Atlas, Attack. There's there's heaps and heaps, right? I'm not going to go list them all. And sometimes I think when people start writing these things, they go in with the best of intentions, but like as craft gets kind of piled on, these things become no longer useful. They become a metric to which you can like write PowerPoints about, but it doesn't actually measure how safe is your thing or how insecure is your thing, because it's like it's unhinged from actual reality. But it puts us back at square one, right? Because it's like, well, then how are we meant to describe like what we did to a given system? The frameworks don't work because they're too high level. They don't actually talk about anything anymore. And then like, do we invent another framework which just kind of restarts the cycle? Yeah, and the coolest vulnerabilities don't fit into frameworks, right? They're always like the weird edge cases that like you can't classify. You have to write like new boxes on the frameworks for, because no one thought about it. Which is, yeah, I think those are the coolest vulns. I like to look at those things, not like, I don't know, you get tired of looking at cross-site scripting after a while. But,
yeah, indeed. So what kind of a mindset would you say, I know this is a hard one, but what do you think like it helps you to find those edge cases that, I guess when you're testing a system or a software that as a pen tester or a consultant, so you kind of, that thing was built by probably dozens of devs, and they have tested this software, as you guess, in and out. But again, you go there and you find the edge case that nobody has thought about. And kind of you turn that the edge case to something interesting from exploitation perspective. What sort of a mindset like guides you there? Do you, or I don't know, approach you have?
Yeah, all right. Do the dumbest thing first. Like, no joke, there's these like really complex systems and they have like layers and layers of like beautiful security controls, but the password's password 01. You're like, why did I go to the effort? I could have just typed that in from the beginning. And this applies, it applies to more systems than just like, it's not a matter of complexity, right? I think every system often has edge cases which aren't successful because it's complex. It's successful because no one thought about it. I'll draw an example from like more recent experience. Like when you see people doing like prompt injection against AI applications, right? And there's a whole ton of that around. But the thing is that there's two schools of thought around it. Is one, you build these like massive prompts which like try to outwit the ChatGPT, whatever the guardrails are. And then the other thing is you just, instead of typing out your massive prompt, you just put like a picture of a dog. You're like, what? You didn't, like, no one actually accounted for this. No one thought about, oh, wait, hold on. Like, what do I do? Like, the application is not designed, and then it shits itself, right? It just goes, oh, is like the internal state. Bye. I find for me, it's just consistently, just not pretending to be dumb, just being really dumb, and then consistently doing it. And then, like, it often works, which is great. Like, I love that part. It's nice and easy. Yeah, I mean, actually, you've seen software evolve as well over the years. Is there a particular approach you take? If I may slightly flip this around.
You can't ask me a question. I definitely. I was going back to the point of complexity. Like, I always find this sort of interesting recipe. When things are complex, you damn sure there is a vulnerability there. Because back in the days, what we were saying, that the attacker is the person who knows your system better than you, and usually are the ones who find these issues. So I would say complexity. And the other thing is the complexity of the input. Sometimes you will think, hey, this software only processes text, but that, again, is a complex input, depending what that text is. For example, you mentioned prompt injection. Well, you got just a text box to enter things, yeah. Right? So, yeah. Cool. I mean, you talked about quite a few things, and you did mention that the evolvement, but is there anything in particular, like, since you started, like, let's just say 2010?
Like big changes?
Yeah, up until today, has our industry changed?
I hate to use the term, but professionalization. I think not in the. I know there's like some of you might have seen. There's drama on LinkedIn. Imagine what a timeline. There's like drama on LinkedIn. Anyway, so I think the way we've approached it as an industry has matured, right? It used to be, back in the day, it was just here's a bunch of people who kind of knew each other and did like fun computer stuff on the weekend. And obviously now that's no longer viable, right? As it has actually become an industry, and there's audits around this stuff, and there's like regulations and blah blah blah, and you can no longer just wing it. But it's been good because it allows us as society to kind of build more complex and systems securely. But it's also, I think it's kind of crap because like the fun is gone. It's not like we're not doing it for fun anymore. We do it for money, which kind of was always going to be the case, but we've forgotten to make it fun. You know, like, so I obviously I've been working inside a big company for a while now, so my information is a little bit out of date. But one of the most common things I hear people complain about, especially from a consulting perspective, is like they get these little mini engagements where the client goes, hey, can you test our web app for 3 days? Because it's the end of financial year, we need to use our budget. We don't actually care what the result is. And we need audit to be like, yeah, you got a pen test, right? And it's like, why do you go down this? You're literally just pissing money away. What's the point? Just keep your money, like, I don't know, in your pocket, right? And it's not fun for anyone involved. For the people doing the security testing, no one wants to be testing some brochureware web app for 3 days. There's no point. It's especially the best part is when you have tested it last year and you come back around and then you try again with the findings that you had and you're like, oh, look, I'm back in. You didn't fix this thing. And you're like, why am I here? Like, people pay tens of thousands of dollars for this. You're like, why did you pay a single dollar for this if you just literally chucked the last year's report in the bin, right? Why are we back here? Like, I think they should be fined for doing that. There should be a penalty that they get charged extra every year they do it.
So what do you think is the reason for that? Like, from your, I guess, those of you who have worked in consulting or you will work in consulting, probably you're going to see this again. But why do you think, like, that is still a thing? Is it a technical? Is it a... Do we need to have legal framework around that?
I mean, I think it makes sense, right? Because from like an audit perspective, where you go, hey, has this company done the right thing? Have they tried to secure their systems? You should mandate that they do a certain amount of security activity. But as soon as you start measuring using some fixed mandate, that becomes the goal, right? The metric is gamified. And then people kind of, they don't really look at it as, oh, I need to secure my system. They just go, oh, actually, I need to do like security testing on 60 different web apps by the end of the year. And then it comes back to what you're saying earlier, like as our industry has kind of matured, there's no one willing to say, hey, hold on, actually, there's no point doing this security testing if we didn't fix the stuff from last year. Like, just skip it. Like, why? And then, it's difficult to find people who are in like the appropriate position of power where they can take a step back and say, actually, no, we should spend the money fixing the bugs. And then next year we have someone else look at it with a fresh pair of eyes. It's hard. I think from the perspective of the person doing the testing in particular, like it burns you out. I got burnt out heaps when I did this stuff. I hated it. And there's more now. Like as the industry matures, there's just more of that now. Is it time for questions or?
We go to the questions toward the end, if that's okay. Yeah, awesome, cool. So I guess you were more thinking about more like a process, internal processes that need to be changed. And
yeah.
This goes back to effectively how mature is that organization in terms of their cybersecurity practices, who leads their, do they listen, do they have budget?
Yeah, it's partly down to like company practices, but it's partly down to just how we view it. Like it's not just cybersecurity. Whenever you see something that's measured to a metric, like it's inevitable that someone will try and game the metric. That's just life. especially in big companies, right? That's what you do because you're measured on a thing. So you achieve just that thing, and you may miss like the actual goal. The effect it has on cybersecurity, I think, is just a side effect of that. It's accidental. It sucks for us. And I don't know, like maybe there's room for new frameworks which kind of try and counter that, right? Which like don't require people to do pen testing across all the brochureware websites, I think. Who knows?
So I guess bring it back, because now is an interesting time again. Another cybersecurity incident happened to an organization close to here. So I guess, do you think those incidents will initiate some of those changes that happen?
I mean, that's up to them. But one thing that always I find interesting is that like people say, oh, you know, you should pay attention to cybersecurity because if you get compromised, then your share price is going to go down. But the reality is there's not. Like, you look at the companies that have been dunked in the past couple of years, there's not even a noticeable dip for like a single day when news of it breaks. It's just this flat line. And you're like, well, like, what consequence is it, right? And I think, you know what, I think we doing cybersecurity and like being interested in it, it skews our own view. Because we look at stuff, right? We're like, oh no, like there's, I don't know, like an RCE on some web-facing web server, I don't know. And then we might think, oh, that's super serious. But actually the people who own that server go, I don't care. And I think that's a part of it, right? Like, if there's a misconception of what's the actual value of data being held by companies and like servers and whatnot. Because sometimes the reality is that the people owning the system don't value it as much as we do. And that's fine. It's like, it's their box. So I don't know, like, is it gonna provoke change? I mean, maybe, but it's not up to us, I reckon. It's a big conversation.
Yeah, that's always then. Yeah, I always see this trend that, you know, an incident happen, the number of calls probably you get to do some sort of audit job or training job goes up, and then after a few months, well, we sort of forget about it. Now, probably we can do something about that collectively, I would feel, as a community, that those lessons kind of get learned so we don't repeat them anymore.
Yeah.
I guess, you know, we talked about a few things, quite a lot of things, and I need to ask you this question about the term, the big elephant in the room around the AI part of the thing, the hype, right? So I guess, are we gonna lose our jobs?
Nah. Like AI is, like, it's interesting, right? Because obviously it's moving real fast and the technology is continuing to evolve. Like, you got to acknowledge that a part of it is hype, 100%, right? No doubt. It functionally isn't living up to the promises which some of the vendors have made, right? And especially around people like, oh, you know, I've got like a reasoning model, man. And what I find really interesting is that it's already been, past tense, it's already been transformative. Look at the internet now, like it has already had an impact and it's continuing to have an impact, but I personally don't think we're going to get to a point where we're like, yeah, the AI can replace a person doing their job. And maybe it can in a very narrow scenario, but the amount of work that has to get you to that point, you may as well just talk to a person. Like, why, right? And I think we like, I obviously can't predict the future in terms of research. And it's the technology underlying it is really, really cool. But I think at some point there will be I guess a realignment with reality, where like big companies are no longer going to be able to say, yeah, I'm just going to like spend more money on AI. Like, you can pour money into a pit, but unless it's got a direction, it's going nowhere, which is what I think what seems to be happening now. There's a really, I saw a really interesting YouTube. I should have prepared content and come up here and share. Anyway, so there was this really cool YouTube video. It's 2 hours long, admittedly, but it was a hacker talking about psychological guardrails for LLM use, and I think that's actually really interesting. Like, how do you even start that conversation? It's a confronting conversation to have. Like, you don't go into a company and be like, hey, no, you're all doing it wrong. But it's necessary. The way that like AI applications, LLMs communicate kind of makes us ascribe human characteristics to them, which isn't necessarily correct. So how do we actually prevent that? As an industry, we've never dealt with that. No one's ever tried to build psychological guardrails for how to talk to a machine. It's an absurd timeline that I can even string that sentence together. But that's where we're at. Yeah, so like,
I guess, is there anything, just given your experience in this field, are there things that you think, yeah, this sort of thing is going to be, I guess, get automated, and by automation, LLM going to replace that, or one of these, reasoning models going to replace that, or things that you'll say, this is going to take a while, and things that you may think, hey, no, it may never be a replacement. Because obviously automation is one of the things they are good at, they are fast at, they are quick at.
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yeah, so good question. So AI, it's interesting, right? Because I'm experimenting with it just for my own personal use case. I try sometimes with like CTFs on the weekend. I'll do them, I'll like solve it myself first, and then try to take like chunks of the binary or whatever, and then paste it into, not directly into ChatGPT, but try to see where I could have sped myself up with like AI assistance. It's mixed results, but it's certainly an interesting experiment. And so, like, will it automate people's jobs? I think not really. Particularly while we can't solve the accuracy problem, I think the answer is a hard no. The first person to around with that is going to find out real hard, right? Because like the cost of an error is not always contained, and the resulting risk from doing that is pretty big. Will it help us? I think it already has to an extent. I'm sure all of you guys, like when you Google for something, no one wants to see 6 pages of AI slop. So you go to ChatGPT and then you type in your question. I do it. And so like it is already helping us in a very practical sense now. I don't know what the future looks like. But I think if we actually somehow solve the accuracy problem, this is probably a question more for like a priest or a philosopher. But like, if we actually one day solve that problem, then I think then we worry about, are we going to replace people with this? But until we reach that point, I think the real question is, how do we use this technology in a way that actually helps people without trapping them in having to review every single output?
So I guess more specifically, I guess recently you've been doing quite hardware reverse engineering, and those microcontroller courses that you skip, you're actually not doing it damn good. So when do you think even AI will help you there, or is gonna at any stage even gonna do a lot of things that you're actually doing now and spend a lot of time?
So I tried. The most annoying part of who does like microcontrollers and electrical engineering? There's got to be a couple. Some, right? The most annoying part is reading through this 300-page data sheet and just like, listen, just tell me which port, like which pin the USB connector is on, right? And so at first, I was like, oh, well, I'll use ChatGPT. And I asked it on like some PIC microcontroller, hey, where is the USB pins? And what I found very quickly was that it had absolutely no idea. Another really interesting instance, I recently needed to do a steady sampling with a magnetometer at like 10 kilosamples a second, whatever. And then I was like, okay, look, it's 2025, I'm not writing this myself, right? Dear ChatGPT. And you know that thing where people go, pretend you're like a master programmer? It said, pretend you're Dennis Ritchie, no mistakes. And it wrote the program, and the program almost compiled. But the problem is so when you do steady sampling, what you want is like the sample rate must be even, right? You need to, the goal is to hit 10 kilosamples a second. I don't care if printf doesn't work. Please make the goal work first. And what ChatGPT did was they used a weird polling architecture which could not guarantee 10 kilosamples a second. Now, I'm very lucky in the sense that I looked at the output and I was like, hold on, that's not my initial idea. If I do, so the problem is it kept doing printf, right? And I was like, okay, if there's floating point numbers in there, what's going to happen is that the printf is going to be too slow. And then I'm going to miss a sample, and then suddenly I'm no longer sampling at the correct rate. But people who've grown up without the experience of reading the 300-page datasheet, I think may not know the architectural mistake. And the minute that we use ChatGPT to program the microcontroller for a helicopter, the minute the helicopter falls in the river, it's an interesting reality that we're moving towards. It is happening. I don't want people using ChatGPT to write my car's power steering, but I'm fairly sure they are. So where does that leave us, right? I don't think we can escape that. I don't think we're going back to pre-ChatGPT days. It's a frightening thought.
Would you say, as someone who has done the old way, you are able to go and look at the output and hey, this doesn't make sense. But for someone, I would say, hasn't done that or hasn't done the hard job of reading those data sheets and those experience, what would you advise? Would they go and read the manual?
Thanks for calling me an old man. A good question. No one. I acknowledged how much it sucks to read documentation, especially when they don't include it in a single document, and it's well, please refer to errata page 322 in volume 6 of the datasheet, and it is annoying. But this is kind of the perfect use case for things like LLM technology. I think there is a use case there. We just haven't hit it yet. We should be able to conversationally ask at a high level. We should be able to ask a document, hey, tell me where the pins for the microcontroller are. And then I don't know what the implementation looks like, but somehow check the answer before giving it back to us and then having the board explode. Especially for old microcontrollers, for back in the day, for the microcontrollers that we would have grown up with, because they're all the plastic dip package with the pins and the wires that you just manually put in place. And it's kind of okay, right? Because if it's wrong, you lose your microcontroller, you may lose a few other components, such as life. And then you pull it out and you just start again. But now, you can't. Because all the pins are too small. You've made a PCB, it doesn't work, and sometimes you can get out your knife and just cut the trace, but when you can't, that sucks so bad. And that's the cost of, I think it's one of the costs of increasing reliance on AI, but it's a self-solving problem because as people around and as people find out, they'll learn the lesson of not using ChatGPT to make schematics. And then, problem solved.
Oh, cool. All right, so I'm going to move away a little bit from LLM and AI to something different now. And we're going to have plenty of time at the end for your questions, so please do remember your questions. So as Norm mentioned, he has been around for a while. He's not an old man. Probably I'm older than you. But the thing is, I should mention that he is actually one of the people who helped for whole SecTalks to start. In fact, one of the early connections that we got to where to host it was through him, and he helped out quite a lot. And he has done quite a lot of things also in terms of community buildings and things like that. So one of which was Platypus. Does anyone here remember Platypus? Can I get a show of hand if you guys recall that? So
too young, all kids.
So I guess tell us about Platypus, how the whole thing started. And
Platypus started a while after SecTalks. So SecTalks has been running for a while, and I think at that point we were P-dubs back in the day when Platypus started. And the thinking behind Platypus was it's really interesting to hear content at SecTalks, but we wanted to experiment with stuff. We wanted to do it. And so our first motto at the time was let's just hack shit, which was, I think, one of our first domains that we got as well. And that was a lot of fun. It lasted a couple of years. We ended up running 2 camps. It's a little bit out of the ordinary. it was really interesting, right? Because what we found was that heaps of people wanted to do fun cyber stuff. Like they wanted to do hands-on experimentation. It's always, I find it's always hard to start, right? And like to start a new project or to start looking into technology that you've never seen before. You're like, okay, what tools do I need? Like what do I need to buy potentially? What do I need to acquire? And like this was really good for getting people together to kind of just talk about like, oh, here's some cool shit that we did. We do like, you know, show and tell. Sometimes we bring stuff in and go, hey, look at, here's stuff that we built. Even to this day, like I'm more of like a hands-on learner, right? Like I like to experiment with stuff. I like to do stuff. Even now I start, I try to build community. Actually, now's a good time. I'll talk about our latest community building initiative. So I like doing CTFs, but it really annoyed me because I have no time, right? So I formed a community. We've recently started a thing. It's like a Discord thing where we do CTFs by not doing CTFs. And the way we do it is that every week, I'll be open with everyone and just say, listen, you join this community, all I'm gonna do is sign up for all of the CTFs so you don't have to like validate your email and click 6 different links, whatever. I'll take that away. I'll sign up with, I'll probably get sued if I say it, but I sign up with a common username and a common password, and everyone's welcome to just come and use it. And it's actually like, by explicitly setting the expectation that we're not doing CTFs, it's been surprising. It's worked quite well. Like there's people who are like, oh yeah, this is kind of cool. Let's give it a go. You know, but I think wherever you go and whatever form it takes, there's always going to be people who want to do fun shit and like want to practically do fun shit. That's where Platypus started, and it's where all this comes from. Yeah.
So I guess with that initiative you take that competition side sort of away, kind of more emphasizing on learning and just doing.
Yes and no. So it's good that you bring that up. I'm going to sidetrack a little bit again. So what I've found building communities in the past is that you grow to a certain size and you fall into this trap where you get new people coming on. So your content has to be like okay for everyone. And then you get stuck doing like 101 content. And as a group, collectively, it's not like it's structurally really difficult to do hard stuff. By taking away the expectation entirely that we will actually do anything, it kind of enables people to come in and be like, you know what, I've got 2 hours on the weekend. I'm going to try a challenge that I haven't done before and give it a go. It's really good. Like I like doing like pwn challenges. Who likes pwn challenges? Come on, I know some of you do. Hey, yeah. So, but it's hard sometimes to get started, right? Because you just like here has a binary, and by the way, it's stripped, and you're like fine, I got to start reversing. But by taking away the expectation that we actually like show progress, it kind of works. Like because there's no expectation, so like I'll just do it. I'll show up on the weekend, I'll have a go, and if people want to participate. If you don't, that's fine. Like the expectation was never there. So yeah, kinda. But I've tried to not make it a learning thing. Yeah.
No, cool. Just want to go back to that Platypus thing because perhaps for context, 2 things. One is there was a point that just on if you go around the meetups just in Sydney alone, or if you just look online for things that happening in Sydney, we had like concurrent multiple security meetups happening here itself. So there was a period of a lot of these initiatives, people coming up just for the sake of just doing it and spending their time, effort, just building, networking people. Now, coming back to that Platypus, I guess there was a lot of lesson learned, and you've been running it with a group of people. What would you be your advice if someone today, or do we need more communities? That's the first thing. The second is like what would be your advice for someone wanna do it or start it, or things that they shouldn't do?
I think we need to take a step back from that, right? And go to a much simpler level. All of us in this room are here because we wanted to see interesting content. We wanted to see something interesting, right? You hear, like I assume no one's here to learn about my life. I've one of the most boring lives in the room. But like, we collectively need interesting content. I think we need to, or I would like to, not we need to, I would like to encourage an atmosphere where it's okay to take a half-finished project and stand up and say, you know what, I didn't get all the way. Or I did this research and the research failed, but it's okay to present it. There's a closed forum between a couple of organizations where like each participating organization sends a couple of people and everyone has to present. And so last time I've started doing this, right? I've just said, look, here's an experiment which failed. I've had fun doing it, right? So this was trying to measure like phone key, like you know when you put your pin in on your phone to try and use the changing magnetic field to work out what your pin was. And I was like, okay, like I enjoy doing that kind of stuff. The research failed, but I was like, I'm going to talk about it anyway because it's important that someone does. I think that would be really cool to see. I don't know. It's intimidating, right? It is difficult to stand up in front of like an audience of your peers and say, yes, I did this research. Yes, I failed. Here are the mistakes I made. But it means we improve as a whole. If people were more willing to do that, I think naturally communities would grow and strengthen. Just because it's interesting. It's interesting to hear this stuff. Like I want to hear about what like you guys have been doing, like cool ideas that you guys have got, experiments that you do like on the weekend. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe it's not the competitive aspect, but sometimes the expectation on speakers can be unconsciously high. Like we don't realize it, right? But then people feel, I'm only going to stand up if I've got a finished project or like I've got a really cool result, when maybe that's not the case. I don't think that's a healthy environment.
No, that was actually a very good point. Like one of the advices we had back in the days, if you want to do a research or present something, do the CFP today. So then you have a deadline to work out with. And there are places, including SecTalks, that we do accept that, and that's actually a good way for have that discipline and that heart. Because doing the security research sometimes is very daunting. It can take time with a lot of failed things and things that doesn't work. So that's one thing. Now, just given the time, I want to just also ask you, since you have been around for a while, and you've also been teaching, I know, for a while in university.
Yep.
I guess we have a lot of people here also new or people who are looking to get into the industry. What would be your first number one advice would be?
Don't do it. No, look, so couple of things, right? When I started like professional cybersecurity, I had this impression that the whole industry was run by a bunch of pen testers. And everyone had similar views to me in terms of how important certain things were and what value got placed on things. And it was a bit of an eye-opener, especially stepping into a larger company, to recognize that that was well and truly not the case. And you had to navigate around people's different values and what people found was important. It's important to kind of come into it with that mindset that what you think is important may not in fact be what everyone thinks is important, but their values, what they think is important is also valid, right? It's funny because at uni, and maybe it was me and my lack of paying attention, but we learned about technical stuff and we never really learned how to work with people. We never actually learned how to work together with someone that you disagree with, like on a fundamental thing. They have an opposing view, and how do you how do you get along with them? How do you work with them to achieve a greater result when potentially that's the most important thing? And then the other thing is just like how many cyber streams does like an average uni have? Like maybe 5, 6, not too many, right? Some places will have 1. Some places will have 0. And often the first starting like exposure people will have is with like pen testing, is hacking, trying to break applications. That's like 5% of total cybersecurity. What companies actually practically need now is people who know how computers work. I think certification pathways and how we teach we've shot ourselves in the foot with that. But like, I think as long as you know at a very fundamental level, this is how computers work, and you can intuitively, when like you know how some people just get computers, right? I don't know how to put it, like they just do. And that is what's needed. There is no way. There is no single class. It's not a single skill set. It's just like you look at a security problem and you're like, I intuitively know what might be wrong. I know where I might want to do my research next. If we could teach that, that would be really cool. I don't think it is teachable. But yeah, like just please don't think that cybersecurity is just pen testing all day. Like it is likely not the case.
It's pretty valuable and gold what actually you're saying, because I was always having an argument with, often lecturing with program managers that cybersecurity should not be a bachelor course for exactly the same reason, meaning that, well, first you need to understand how computers work, how database works, how network works. Without that background, honestly, it actually makes the job really hard, or it gives a rise to the next generation of what again we call the people who just run tool and just looking at the output without really understanding, hey, this tool, yeah, it doesn't give you the exact result, but if you just tweak it a little bit, you will find the result, and for you is like that security vulnerability or a 0 day. And usually you only find that when you know how that system works. And today, again, coming back to the point, the systems are very, very complex, getting more complex. So that means that it doesn't mean that, oh, we should put our hands up or we can't do it. It's actually a lot more opportunities for us to look for things that nobody has even thought about or nobody has looked for. So
can I jump in real quick? So just on the point of stuff that no one's thought about, right? I was talking to a bunch of developers about this earlier this morning, and when you think about like the software that we're beginning right now, especially with AI systems, we as humanity have never really built resilient systems like this before. We don't know how to do it. No one knows how to do it. Think about like the problem with an AI system is that you can't tell when it's wrong. It just goes, oops, and then it outputs something that's like not true. But it doesn't like flag it. It doesn't go, hey, maybe this one was a mistake, right? All of the systems in existence today are safe because we know when something's gone wrong. Or we build in redundancy, so we go, I don't care if something goes wrong. But that's only because we've thought about it before. Think about your car, right? Like the airbag. It works because we've considered the case that, oh, someone might crash their car into an obstacle. Think about like a plane, right? When the oxygen mask dropped down, someone's thought about it. Someone goes, maybe we will need oxygen because we're up there where, you can't just breathe the air. But with AI systems, especially now, the opportunities for failure are so varied that we collectively we have no idea. Like, how do you start building a safe system using something that can arbitrarily be wrong and you have no way of detecting it without a person reviewing every single output? So to your point about opportunities and things that no one's thought of, I think it's absolutely true. And there's areas now which are cool because there may not be a solution, but it's worth thinking about because I think it's a super interesting field. Sorry, I sidetracked you
it's
there.
all good. Just watching the time, that's all. Awesome. So a few final questions, and then we go to the audience and ask you about things you have. How much time do you spend doing work versus research?
All of the time. 8 hours a day I spend doing business. No. So look, I don't know, man. Like I go home and then like you might unwind for a bit, like grab some food. And it's not really research. What I've been doing lately. So I've been working on the little spider robots that you make in like school, right? And I've been I've taken some old code and tried to make it all parameterized. So now I can just like call a function and be like, make me a new spider bot, length equals 7.5, and it'll just do it. For me, like it's not really research. It's just like I'm doing it because I don't know why I started. I may as well finish. I just do like fun stuff like that because I think I'm bored. I think I get bored really easily. Yeah, like work's all right. Work provides a range of interesting problems. I think that's my problem. Look, I need interesting problems to keep following. Otherwise I just like get bored and just drift off. Yeah. No, I don't know where I was going with that.
No? I was just more around like well, things can change a lot, like in the security, right? How do you keep up? Like, do you read any specific feed or?
Not anymore. I think there's always going to be like interesting vulns, right? And I'm not going to have the time to keep up with all of them. I just look at the stuff that I find interesting. If I'm working on a specific thing, I'll probably learn more about that. I've been reading a whole bunch of papers about. Who's heard of this thing called screaming channels? No one. It's really cool. You guys should totally look it up. So it's this attack where you open like a transmission channel, like Bluetooth, right? And then because you have analog, like a signal generator and your digital logic on the same chip, and then the noise from the digital signal will leak over into the analog signal. And so I've been reading, like, because I'm interested in that thing for now, I'll read a whole bunch of like physics stuff. And then 2 weeks later, I'll be doing something else. Yeah.
Awesome. I guess any final words, any things you want to talk about, projects, like as you mentioned about your CTF initiative, but anything else?
Not from me. Like, I kind of hope everyone found this entertaining at least. For CTFs. So, there is an initiative to do some CTF content with as SecTalks as well. It's in the works now, but if people have ideas or if people want to be involved and like contribute CTF challenges, please shout out. SecTalks has always been built on community involvement. And like if you've got interesting ideas, I reckon you're probably not the only one with that idea. Like probably other people find it interesting as well. So yeah, like please shout out on Slack, wherever. Yeah, if you want to take part.
Awesome. Just to close that off. So in terms of like CTFs, just to mention, give a context, it has been an interesting one. One of those things that you can get immediately hands-on experience on something and not necessarily start reading about it. For your reference, back in the days, that was actually one of the ways we were assessing the candidates. Before like LinkedIn and all the other things become very popular, we were asking the candidate, hey, have you done a CTF? Have you participated in any? Because that gives us, as employer, a way to judge the technical capability of the person aside from their soft skill. So with that, I think we're just running a little bit out of the time, but thanks so much, Norm. Let's just put our hand together for Norman. And yeah, the questions.
Thanks, Norman. You were talking before, towards the start, about how metrics can sort of end up being gamed, and you end up doing work to kind of like fill boxes, I guess, instead of getting like the true value of what like you yourself and the technical people on the ground would think would be the right thing to do. Just curious why you think that happens, and were you saying it's sort of something that happens more in big companies, or it just kind of happens across the board? And why is that?
Yeah, good question. I think to a large extent it's human nature. Like if you measure someone on a thing, they're going to optimize for that thing. I don't think it's specific to cyber either. I'm pretty sure this occurs across the board. No matter as soon as you give someone a metric that can be gamed at all, some enterprising individual is going to go, I'm going to go for the high score. And then they do, but taking a step back, sometimes there's no other option. Like you have to measure something. Like for cybersecurity, you must measure, did you take appropriate actions to secure this system? You can't just ignore it, right? And so sometimes it gets gamed, but sometimes that getting gamed is the best outcome out of a sea of bad outcomes.
Okay. Yeah, thank you. So would you say like you need the metrics because of like a trust thing? Like you can't fully trust people to be fully autonomous?
I think it's simpler than that. I think sometimes there needs to be just measurement at all. Like imagine if we didn't have metrics, right? Imagine if there was no cybersecurity metrics and then someone gets compromised. And so like, you know, eventually whoever's investigating this goes, hey, hold on, what, like, did you do? Like, do you have a secure development program? Like, what, did you buy a firewall? You know, at some point, we have to have some metric as a starting point, not because we don't trust people, because the alternative is nothing. The alternative is just here's some fluffy best practice, good luck. But if we don't measure it, people just like it. People may end up just doing literally nothing, and then it's a worse outcome. And metrics aren't the greatest outcome, but it's better than not having them, I think.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Thanks.
I'll try to rotate between online and in person. So we got one online. Is your non-CTF Discord server open for public?
Yes and no. Just hit me up on Slack. I think I'm Lin_S. Like you can have an invite if you want, but the expectation is we're actually not doing CTFs. Like I'll register, but please don't come in expecting like me to show up every weekend. I'm not going to. I'll show up when I feel like it, and then you should too. Yeah.
If anyone else has a question in person, just put your hand up and I'll bring the mic to you. I'll just ask one. Oh, sorry. Just yeah.
Great talk, I guess, generally. I have it's quite irreverent because I come from a DevOps space, which is just infrastructure, I would say. I just got a couple of questions of your opinions. I read somewhere in the newspaper that someone is whistleblowing that like the government of New South Wales have very big vulnerabilities, and having worked in the industry, there's often actually trying to get best practice across the board and dealing with good cybersecurity practice. It's often a balancing act. So what's your kind of view on that? And I guess working in the DevOps space, quote unquote, what's your view on DevSecOps? Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, kind of. So two-part question, right? So the first part around, I guess the existence of vulnerabilities in especially larger companies in government, I think is almost inevitable. Like, it's a numbers game, right? Like you have thousands and thousands of assets. You're just not like how are you going to secure all of them to a perfect standard? There's always room for improvement, and all we can do is try our best. With regards to DevSecOps, I think it's actually really important. I used to do application security earlier in my career. It's an unsolved problem. Like how do you provide resources to people? How do you help people actually write more secure software? For a lot of us who come from from a pen testing background, the actual answer is we don't know, because we haven't done like enterprise development before. I don't know what are the best ways to help. We're guessing. So I think like if we have people with like your background coming from that kind of DevOps background, it's actually really helpful for you guys to be involved in the conversation and to make that a two-way street, instead of what often happens is this ivory tower where security just like sits on the, throne above the clouds and just demands you do this. I don't think that's realistic. We do need more conversation around DevSecOps, but like I don't think anyone has actual answers there. It is an unsolved problem, I think.
We got one more online. Hey Norman, what challenges in security do you think are not getting enough attention, both technical and non-technical?
Yeah, good question. So there's a lot of stuff which could probably use more attention, but I think the most effective attention that can be spent is on getting the basics right. I think that it doesn't matter if you have these really cool, like really technologically fancy defenses if people's password is actually password 01. And like we might joke about it, but it's important that people's passwords are in fact not password 01. when you think about that at scale, it seems stupid. But at scale, imagine if you're working at a company with 50,000 users. How many have password 01? You don't even know. So how do we tackle that? I think it's important to look at those simple problems and this, like, because attackers are going to try the dumb stuff first. If they log in with password 01, that's game over. I kind of think that, and I know not everyone shares this opinion, I kind of think the basic stuff is where our attention is best spent. Yeah.
So my question, testing, 1, 2, 3, okay. So my question is, how effective, because you said you applied like LLMs or GPT, I'm assuming that you use GPT in it, right, for binary exploits. So I'm just curious, because I was making shellcode the other day, right, and I use GPT as well, but then I realized GPT is not like really optimized for generating shellcode in assembly language. So my question to you is, because you've got more experience than me, is that how effective is LLMs in general with generating shellcode? Because like, think about it, everything is data, right? So now if we look at a platform like Snyk, right? They use AI, but if we trained a theoretical model to look at assembly language, all the binary, all the compilers, right? And then make some predictable output, would it be effective? How effective?
So, it's a bold assumption that I have more experience than you in doing this. I'm pretty sure I don't. But I might answer your question with a more theoretical take. I think that the architecture, a transformer-based architecture, is potentially very effective at doing what we want to do. Like, for example, generating shellcode. But what we're doing right now with something like ChatGPT is we're taking the extremely scenic route, because ChatGPT is trained on English. And we're not. We're working in like assembly, right? And it's platform-specific assembly. So is there room to use the same kind of technology to optimize for our use case? There's precedent for this. Shellfish, I think it was called, the dudes, when it was the DARPA Cyber Grand Challenge, they did a whole bunch of work around automating exploit generation. And as far as I know, could be wrong, they didn't use ChatGPT, but they used similar techniques. And like, it was more symbolic execution at the time, I think. But maybe there's room for using the technology, just not in the form of a current gen LLM. I don't know if that answered. I don't know if that works.
Yeah, that does. It's very thought provocative. Thank you.
Just wanted to do a check. How many more questions are you guys happy to answer?
I've got time. Stick around for a bit.
One more online and...
Oh.
Yeah. Hey, Norman, when it comes to reverse engineering or exploration, for example, I was deciphering a simple while loop function and encountered a move EAX instruction. It wasted 2.5 hours of my time to realize that it was the simple GCC compiler optimization. With this example in mind, how do you avoid a similar rabbit hole when you're doing your research?
I don't. I fall headfirst into the rabbit. I head first into the rabbit hole. One thing that I've found has helped is trying to spot structures in executable code. Instead of getting stuck trying to analyze like what does an individual instruction do, I'll look for stuff around it and be like, hey, have I seen this before? IDA's float signature is good for this, or whatever they call it these days. And there's, I think, other disassemblers have similar things. A binary ninja is pretty good now. So it has like high-level decompilation. It's not always right, but like it's a good starting point, right? You just like, please show me in almost C code. And then you can see, oh, this is like, you know, it looks like AES. I can see the structure of AES. I don't care what the minutia are. I don't know if that helps, maybe.
Any more questions in the room? Probably one more, if we've got time.
Thanks. I'll probably give you a hard question to end it off. So, from your experience, it sounds like you've done a lot of work with, medium or large size enterprises, right? Like a lot of the engagements have been with them. So, if the statistics are right, when small businesses, so 10 employees or less, get, a cyber attack, 60% of the time they go out of business, right? So considering the Australian economy, 97% of businesses have less than 10 employees, the SMBs. Like, how do you think this, cybersecurity challenge with AI coming in as well, how that's going to actually move the needle on most small businesses, right? Is it going to be government legislation? Is it going to be, standards like SMB 1001? Like, are we going to make IT providers like SMBs, do cyber as well? 10 times more pen testers?
Yeah, good question. So it's very broad, right? I'm not going to have an actual answer to this because it's not a one person problem to solve. But I think a shift in perspective is helpful here because when you say most Australian businesses are smaller businesses, right? Under 10 employees. And you have a think about what those businesses are. A lot of the time it doesn't actually touch computers at all. Or they use a provider, here's my payments provider, for example, and that's it, right? Because they're like an ice cream truck. They don't have a website. They have one thing that they ultimately don't really control that just handles payments. And all they care about is, did people pay the correct amount of money for their ice cream? I don't know if the problem is as big as it initially seems with that in mind. There's a whole bunch of stuff which just isn't related to computers and has near zero cybersecurity footprint. I think this comes back to the difference in perspective between people like us in this room who look at these things and go, oh, the ice cream shop probably does need to be worried about I don't know, did you secure your wireless network? Where the dude selling ice cream is just listen, I just do you want 2 scoops of vanilla with that? And it's a difference in perspective. It's a good question. I don't have an answer, but I don't know if everyone sees the question in the same way. I know that's a cop-out answer, but I don't know. It's the one I got.
Great. Thanks so much, Norman, for giving us your insight tonight, and Pedram for hosting the questions. Can everyone just give another thank you to Norman?
And just also mention that we have our Cybersecurity Community Legend Award, and this is number 1. Whoa. And we're going to pass it on to you, Norman, for all your sacrifices and exceptional contribution. So,
thanks, man.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Just quickly, thanks again. One last thing, there's going to be feedback that we're going to send around, so please do check out your email. Getting your feedback for this session. If you like to see this more, if not, let us know. Also, in that feedback form, there is a field that you can actually nominate who the next person should be here or who the next legend should be here. So please do that as well. We'll just pass it on to you then. Close it off. Thank you.
Thank you. Just another reminder that we're going to be using those QR code check-ins to help us order food in the future. If you haven't already checked in, it'd be great if you could meet me. I'm just going to be over here slightly after, so that when you come next time, I'll order food for you. Anyone who currently has a job, recently at the end of our talks, we've been opening it up to people to just bring up any jobs that they have hiring for. Just if you could, keep it 30 minutes to a minute max per listing. Feel free to come down and just grab the mic.
Hello again. We are hiring for 2 people in our purple team. I'm not the hiring manager, so please see the website. Please see the CBA Careers website. They are for relatively senior roles, so experience is a hard requirement. Thanks.
Hey everyone, I'm Ken from ASX. We're going to be hiring for 1 security engineer. A little bit about the role. It's quite lenient. We do a lot of things. You'll be exposed to many things. If you want to do purple teaming, you get to do purple teaming. If you want to code, we code in both Python and Rust. If this seems like if you live in the terminal and a Vim enjoyer and want to learn Rust and Kubernetes, come talk to me after this. Thanks.
So just to clarify, not to apply if we use VS Code, or? Anyone else wanted to add their anything else? Or? No worries. Thanks so much, everyone, for coming tonight. Once again, I'm just going to be here checking people in who missed the check-in. Have a good one.